Hey guys, Michelle from Michelle's Craft Corner here, and today's video I'm going to show you how to make this card using the new High Tide stamp set and the Colorful Seasons bundle. So let's get started. So here's a close-up of that card. Isn't it just lovely? Just perfect for the summer weather and a trip to the beach. So to make this card, I used a bunch of different things, but primarily the High Tide stamp set, which is just an awesome stamp set. Love that one. And then also the new Colorful Seasons stamp set. Now, both of these are photopolymer. And this is created so you have something for all year round. Just a lot of different great things in this one, but we're mainly just using the sentiment today. And then, of course, to do this really awesome little chair, we're going to use the Seasonal Layers Thinlit dies to punch out that chair. There's a leaf hiding under there, too. And, of course, you can get both of these, this is the Colorful Seasons bundle, together and save 10% right there. So, if you're going to probably end up getting them anyway, might as well get them together and save some money. All right, so besides these wonderful stamp sets, for this card, we also used quite a few colors, and this is going to be a high amount of sponging today, so I'm using my stamping sponges. They come in a pack of 3, and this is not a full pack. I have already used up most of this, but they'll come in these big circles, and what I tend to do is wedge them out into quarters, so cut that in half and half again for 4 little. And then I just like to mark mine with whatever color I'm using and then just kind of keep it till it's toast. But you can actually wash these as well, so give them a little longevity if you don't want to specify a particular color. But we're using these today. And quite a few colors. So our post-it note of the day, our post-it note color, is brought to you by Island Indigo, which is our card base color and also one of our ink colors for this video. Love this color. It's such a beautiful one. So there's the Island Indigo ink pad. We're also going to be using the Bermuda Bay, which these two are just gorgeous together. Love those. And the Marina Mist for the sky. And then some Sahara Sand for the sand. The Daffodil Delight, you can see that, for the sun. Now, if you don't have Daffodil Delight, you can use saffron or crushed curry, whatever yellow you have on hand. It's just for the sun. Then we're also going to use some Early Espresso. And then lastly, some basic black archival ink for the birds. Okay, guys, got all those colors? All right, so on to paper. So as I said before, we're going to use Island Indigo as our base paper color. We're also going to use a piece of Early Espresso paper, and this is, well, we'll get to cuts in a second, but Early Espresso, and then some Whisper White. So you're going to want enough for the front that we're about to sponge and stamp, and one for the inside as well. And then a smaller one for our sentiment. Okay, you guys got all that? So let's put this card together. So the measurements for the papers. So this smaller Whisper White piece is cut at 2.5 by 2 inches. It's generally easier to stamp it and then trim it to size, but for the video I went ahead and gave you some sizes there. The Whisper White is 5 inches by 3 3/4, and our Early Espresso piece is 5 1/4 by 4. All right. So first thing you're going to want to do, after you've got all your pieces together, is we're going to go ahead and take our Seasonal Layer Thinlit dies, and there's this really cute little chair in here. We're going to run it through the Big Shot to get our little white chair. Isn't that so cute? I've already seen a couple other people, demonstrators, do the chairs in different colors, kind of that Adirondack look. But you want to go ahead and run that through and have him ready to go first. And that's just using either our base plate or magnetic plate. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and get our piece of Whisper White. Now, I went ahead and pre-sponged this one because my camera was shaking really bad when I practiced. So I'll walk through it with you, but I already have it done. So we're going to start with our sky. Now, I like to sponge off the line between the sky and the water. It gives it a nice crisp horizon line. Now, you don't have to, but then your horizon might be a little muddy. It just depends. It'll be a different look. So I'm going to take my Marina Mist little sponge in that. Then I'm also going to grab the little circle from that High Tide set and my Daffodil Delight. Ink up that circle and press it and hold. Give it a second or two and then straight up. Photopolymer, you just got to give it an extra second just to be sure it transfers. Okay, then you've got your sun. If you want, you can mask your sun with a piece of Post-it note cut out, but you don't have to. All right, then we're going to take our Marina Mist and our sponge and just dab, dab, dab. And when you sponge up and down, it kind of gives it a speckled look. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of a very speckledy sky look. Now, if you want it to be a more smooth sky look, then you're going to want to brush it or do small circles. But if you're just straight up and down, it'll give it kind of a speckled look or brushed. So this is kind of a combination of both. I did a speckled first, straight up and down, and then I did just a general brush. Just being careful not to go directly over my sun, otherwise blue and yellow, you'll get green, and nobody wants a green sun. So just kind of around the sun, but not over the sun. Okay, so you got that. And we're done with the Marina Mist. I'm gonna put that up. Then the next two colors you're gonna need are the Bermuda Bay and the Island Indigo. Now, for the water, we're going to take our Post-it note and we're going to flip it to the other side. And this really is going to differentiate where your horizon is. Just like that. So we're going to start with our Bermuda Bay, kind of that brighter of the two colors. We're going to ink it up and just pull straight across, doing straight lines. Feel free to go over that Post-it note. That'll make sure you have a crisp line up top, but straight across, just like that. Okay? And then at this point, we're going to go ahead and do our water with our lines from that High Tide, and that we're going to stamp with the Island Indigo. So the water is going to match the card base. Just going to ink that up. Notice I left that mask on just in case I accidentally go over. It's just a little easier not to have to worry. Now, to kind of make it look more true to water, I do like to kind of stamp it multiple times. It'll kind of give it an off look. Oh, see, I'm still shaking the camera today. Okay. It'll kind of give it a stamped off look, but just those multiple lines, I think, tend to look more like waves. So you can do more or less to personal preference, just however much water you want. And you can also, if you want it to be a bit darker, you can take your Island Indigo sponge and kind of just give it a little light tap across the top or pull, just to kind of blend those together. So personal preference, how dark or light you want it. Okay, so then we will have our water. If you pull that across, you'll see that nice sharp horizon line for the water. I may add a little more later, but I think it's pretty good. All right, so we've got our sky, we've got our water. Let's go ahead and stamp our birds. This is just an awesome bird stamp set. Mine has been very well used. That is why it's so dark. There's a trick if you don't want your stamp sets to get as stained with the photopolymer, you can stamp them in Versamark first, but I just don't tend to remember to do that, and the coloring doesn't affect the stamping, so it doesn't really bother me. So tap, tap, tap. And you can have your bird go over the sun, around the sun, kind of however you want, but we're just going to stamp it at that angle across the corner. So just like they're flying up to that corner. And straight off. So there we go. Very good. Nice thing with the photopolymer is if you misstamp, it's easy to line it back up and try again. All right, so now I'm going to get our sand. So for the bottom sand, I of course use the, oops, Post-it notes everywhere. So the Sahara Sand ink pad, which is just a really nice neutral color. I've actually really grown to love Sahara Sand. So for this one, what I ended up doing is just sponging and kind of doing swirls, starting from the bottom up. Because it doesn't bother me as much if it's a little lighter right there on the beach. But, I mean, you can add, yeah, see? Camera just shakes like crazy when I try to do this. Okay. And same thing, so I did swirls to kind of do the beach. And then also just some brushing straight across. And a little dabbing too. It's kind of personal preference how light or heavy you want it. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and stamp our sand. And this is also from that High Tide stamp set. Now, the stamp set has a nice hole in it, and the idea behind that is you would stamp the lighthouse in the hole so it's kind of surrounded. Now, for this beach, what I recommend you do is flip it over so that the hole is down, and we're going to stamp it multiple times so the hole won't really be a factor. You're just going to kind of keep going and it'll just fill in. Now, if you're worried about that, then you can just do half of it and just not stamp the whole thing. Either way, I mean, but we're just going to kind of stamp it once and again. So we're just kind of stamping it all over multiple times just to kind of give it that sandy beach look. Just like that. And if you have a hole or a spot you don't like, you can just go right over it again. There we go. So just like that. So a nice sandy beach line. And see that sponging kind of helps with that transition from the water to the sand. Okay. So on to the next thing. I'm just cruising right along on this card. Okay. So next thing is we're going to go ahead and stamp our grasses. Now you can do this in green if you prefer, but I kind of like the brown, so we're going to use that Early Espresso for this part. So just a little tap tap. And I kind of like it on either side of the chair. So it just looks like the chair is the middle of it, but you can stamp as many as you want, just here and there, but I just did about 2. So the idea is the chair is going to be right there in the middle. Okay. And then the other thing that you can do with the Early Espresso, if you want, it's going to give you a slightly different look, but if you want a more weathered or rustic looking beach scene, you can also tap the Early Espresso and do kind of a corner rub all the way around. Now it's a slightly different look than the original picture, so you may or may not want it, but it will give your card a little bit more definition and pop. So I'm just taking that sponge and brushing it across the edge, just with a little touch of that Early Espresso. I don't know if you can see the difference there, but see there's just like that little edge. So that's something else you can do with the Early Espresso if you want to kind of give you a bit of a pop. Okay. Now we're done with Early Espresso. We're going to move that off the side. And let's go ahead and glue our chair down. So the glue I'm going to use is the Tombow liquid glue, because I really like using that fine tip for projects like this. And you can use the snail as well, but because of all those little holes, it may tend to want to stick through the holes and be a little sticky. So, and you don't have to get the whole chair, just kind of hitting a few highlights, a few of the little thicker parts, and yours should be fine. Okay, I'm going to take it and flip it over and press it down on our card. Just like that. Very good. So now we've got the background good to go. So let's go ahead and do our sentiment with this piece here. Now I did kind of a fun technique for this one, and I'm not sure if it will really show up well. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Okay, so you can see there's kind of a bit of a shadow on the words. You see that? Where it's light and then stamped darker on top. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is a two-tone, let me zoom back out here, okay. A two-tone stamping. So we're going to start with our lighter of the two colors. I'm going to use the Marina Mist for this, but you can use any of the lighter shades. We're going to use the Life is a Beautiful Thing, and this is also from that Colorful Seasons bundle, but there's also some nice ones in the High Tide as well if you prefer those. So I'll flip this over here and just stamp it in that light color. Oh, there we go. Yet again, photopolymer, got to give it an extra second or two, make contact, and peel it off. So it's kind of a nice light shade. So since we've already done our light shade, then we're going to do our darker one. I'm going to do the Island Indigo again. And you don't necessarily have to clean it if you're going from light to dark. Definitely if you're going from dark to light, because you don't want to stain, but okay. So after inking it, I'm just going to kind of slightly, well, okay, I'm going to line it up on top, and then I'm going to slightly move it over, up, and to the right. And that will give it just that little bit of shadow from the previous color peeking through. And press down. This is not something you can really do with the rubber, but with the photopolymer you can. So let's peel that away so you can kind of see, there we go. You can see that just double lined effect, which I think is kind of cool. And actually I think what I may have done, yeah, actually I think I used Pool Party for the base of that one. So this one's Pool Party and Island Indigo, and this one is Marina Mist Island Indigo. So both are pretty, both, you zoom in here, okay. Both are pretty, both work, it's just slightly different shades. But that's what I did for that, so I'm zoom back out. Yeah. Okay, so now we have our sentiment, we have our card, pretty good to go. So let's stick it all together. Put this out of the way. And of course, you know, can't put a card together without some dimensional. Now I will point out you can use the edges of the dimensionals. So the little hexagons of course are the easiest and popular, but these little pieces on the side work just as well. Do the exact same thing, and honestly nobody's going to be able to tell if you used a corner piece or an actual hex because it's going to be hidden. Okay, so just keep in mind, don't throw away those edge pieces. Those work just as well as the others. So I'm going to take this and tilt it at a slight corner. Press it down like that. Okay. So now let's go ahead and glue the rest of our card together. Grab that Island Indigo card base back. There we go. And then of course our Early Espresso at 5 1/4 by 4. We're just going to do some layering and glue those down. and flip that, hit the corners here. And layer it so you just have that little edge of Island Indigo peeking through all the way around. There you have it. A wonderful beach card ready for your summer vacation. Hope you guys liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you at the next video. Bye-bye.